I wake up and count my blessings. No more worries, no more stressing. With every loss there comes a lesson. Lord, all I'm asking is protection. I wake up and count my blessings.
Greetings, Massive. Translation, hello everyone, and welcome to Conversations with me, a random nobody. Today's conversation is going to be centered around the Second Amendment, the right to bear arms. Now, the climate that the country is in right now, bearing arms has been the topic of many discussions. And I wanted to have this conversation because I feel that as a woman, and especially a Black woman, I need to be more informed on my rights, how I go about exercising those rights, and overall protocols and procedures and things of that nature that I need to be more aware of. That's where my guest comes in, Robert Vandervall. I've known Rob for a very long time. He's like the little brother I never wanted. And he is here to chat with me today about bearing all the arms. I'm not just talking about one arm, guys. I need to bear all of these arms out in these crazy American streets. So let's just get right into this conversation. Rob was able to drop some useful knowledge that we can all benefit from. And he's a very silly type of person. So our conversation was a lot more fun than I expected it to be. And I think that's good because these conversations need to be, relaxed and comfortable. So I can definitely appreciate Rob for just being who he was. So without further ado, here's our conversation. Mr. Rob Bass Vandervall, welcome to Conversations with me, a random nobody.
Thank you. Glad to be here today.
Guys, today we're going to be talking about Black gun ownership. But before we get started, I just want Rob to talk about guns and tattoos. What does that mean?
My definition is guns and tattoos. I love guns and I love tattoos. There you have it.
Now, guys, Rob is like the little brother that I never wanted, right? But today we're not going to talk about that. We are going to talk about the Second Amendment. And according to the Second Amendment, some people think that, of course, we know it's the right to bear arms. And some people argue that only the National Guard or the military should have that right. And then others argue that all citizens should have the right to bear arms. Now, Rob, I'm going to assume that you agree with the latter.
Oh, absolutely. Every single American citizen.
Okay.
Of age.
Now, of age. Okay, that's important to note that. So tell me why.
I find it very beneficial for various reasons. I find shooting guns as a great stress reliever. I find gun education to be extremely informational and something that you can pass on to others and teach others. I also just believe that that stereotype that guns have needs to be eliminated completely.
All right. So when did you get your first gun?
My first firearm was purchased in May 2020.
Oh, wow. So you're new to this.
I'm new to this, but I'm true to this.
Oh, okay. Excuse me. Okay. So May 2020. Okay. So I said gun, you said firearm. So is that the correct term to use when talking about weapons?
That's lesson one of the educational part. People don't like the term gun. They prefer the term firearm.
Okay, so it's more of a making people comfortable.
Precisely.
Okay, cool. So what made you want to purchase?
I've been in the security field for about going on 4 years now, and I always wanted to advance and expand upon. So I chose to get into armed security earlier this year, in which that has afforded me certain certifications and qualifications in which I was able to purchase multiple firearms. And I am so happy I finally made this decision. Been thinking about it for a long time now, but now we're here.
All right, so tell me about the firearms that you actually own.
Okay, so let's start with my very first purchase. It was a Springfield XD
Okay.
9 millimeter. It was a little compact. It was really nice. I actually bought it used for a great price. Shot really well. I ended up selling it. Let's talk about my second purchase. I bought a Glock G48, which also was a 9 millimeter. But that one was really, really nice. Two-tone, pretty. Oh yeah. Sold that. Let's talk about what I currently have in my possession.
Okay. May I ask a question?
hmm
So why do you sell them?
I get tired of them, and I see something bigger and better, and I just like I gotta have that.
Okay. And I, for one, didn't know, I just thought 9 millimeter was one specific gun, but it seems like it's like
It's a caliber.
a
That's the size,
caliber.
the
And
size of
then,
a bullet.
so there's different types of 9 millimeter
hmm
gun. Okay.
As of right now, I have a Springfield XDM Elite 9 millimeter. That is my baby, my joy. I will never sell it. I promise you, hand to the man. It
Really?
is my, I love it so much. And then
What's so special?
it just feels good and it shoots good. It's like anyone can handle it. It's perfect. And I shoot so great with it. Oh, God. And most recently, last month, I went up in caliber. I have a 45 Springfield XD two-tone. Pretty. Oh,
Oh my goodness. So you currently have two then?
I currently have two. Got my eyes on another. The main reason I like this XDM Elite, it holds a 20 round magazine. That is not normal, people. 20 rounds, load that bad boy in. And just to think, I have 4 magazines. So that's 80 rounds. You do the math. Come on,
Yeah.
people. Do the math. 20 times 4.
Wow.
You might not. Nah, I ain't gonna say that. But yeah, you get the point. You get the point.
Okay. Well, that's awesome. So what does that process look like of becoming a licensed firearm holder, carrier? I don't know.
First, you want to make sure it's something you want to do. As we all know, that guns are not toys. That's first things first. Once you realize, okay, this is something that I want to learn a little bit more about, I suggest that you go take a HQL class. HQL stands for Handgun Qualification License. All that means is that does not mean that you can carry your gun around and do whatever you feel as though you need to do. It means that you may purchase and take to your home and take to the range and take to your home. That's all of this means. Now, once that is in your home, I would advise you to educate yourself on proper home defense, meaning where do you store it? How do you keep it? How can you get to it? Who knows where it's at? Who knows the code? Things of that nature. So if you want to get into the field of security, then you would get into your CCW, which is your carry and conceal weapon permit. So that means when you're at work, you can carry your firearm to and from work.
Okay. So there's a lot. So you've learned this because of the field that you went into.
Correct.
So how, as far as like you said, where to place it in the home and things of that nature, would like a regular civilian like me, how would I learn all of that extra stuff?
You would take those first 2 classes that I talked about. First, your handgun qualification, which allows you to purchase a firearm as well as keep it in your home. And then once you decide that that's what you want to do, just have it in your house, I would take a home defense class, because there's a lot of things you got to learn when it comes to that. It's not as easy as it sounds.
Wow. How long do these classes normally last?
Your average HQL class is about 4 hours. The home defense class is about 4 hours, and the CCW class is a 2-day, because you also have to shoot.
Okay. So are these classes you go somewhere to take them, or is it like online?
You definitely have to go somewhere. Now, there's various places I know here in Maryland where you can go. I went to a spot not too far from my house, which is great. That does everything on site. But yeah, it's a lot of places that you could choose to go to with reasonable pricing.
So you mentioned earlier about trying to knock down that stereotype of, was it just guns and firearms in general, or Black people with firearms?
It's good that you mentioned that. Mainly Black. I mean, because I'm Black. I mean, let's be honest. I feel like a lack of education about guns and maybe some past experiences with guns has misconstrued some people's outlook on guns.
Okay. Yeah.
Firearms.
Firearms. That makes sense. And since you became involved, have you noticed that there are a large amount of Black people owning guns or low?
We are definitely on the lower end, but there are a good amount of people. And if you were to get into this field of firearm training, you would see that, and it might actually surprise you.
Okay, interesting. I read a article in the Atlantic that said, quote, people of color are both most likely to be victims of gun violence and most likely to be harassed by the police for their decisions to own and carry guns. So do you think that comes into play as well as far as Black people deciding to purchase firearms?
I do. Interestingly enough, I find that article to be somewhat true. But I like to be on the opposite end of that. I feel like that mindset about that article shouldn't deter people away from proper education on guns and potential gun ownership. So, and knowing that, yes, keep that in the back of your mind, but at the same time, don't let that have a place of fear of you want to become. And I always say this quote, I say, I'd rather have one and not need it than to need one and not have it.
Yeah, that is very, very true. Because I tell you, last night I was home by myself and my doorbell rang. I was scared, Rob. I was like, dang, I should have listened to Rob, but it was fine. My neighbor just locked herself out and needed some help. But I'm telling you, that little sense of protection would have made me feel more confident walking down those steps to open that door. But now, as far as the NRA is concerned, are you a member?
I am not a member of the National Rifle Association.
Why?
It's an interesting question. Not that it's targeted, because that might be where people think I was going with that. Mm-hmm. It's not that it's targeted towards white gun owners, because I do know Black gun owners who are members of the NRA. I personally don't see the benefit of me becoming a member of the NRA, because for one, what may be misconstrued or what people may think, the NRA doesn't protect you from anything.
Okay.
It's like a club. It's like a motorcycle club. Like, hey, you got a gun? I got a gun too. Cool. Like, that's all it is. And this is a lot of people that say that. So I am a member of USCCA, which is insurance, which everyone should get if you are a gun owner. I'll even read what this does.
Okay.
So let's say that you had an incident at your home.
Mm-hmm.
This is exactly what you need to say. 911. I was attacked. I was fearful of my life and I had to defend myself. Please send both the police and the ambulance to this location. Then what you would do is call USCCA. Tell them what happened. When the responding officers arrive to your house, follow all of the police instructions. Tell them once again, I was attacked. I feared for my life and had to defend myself. Point out the evidence, lay everything clear so they can see. Request medical attention if necessary. Then cooperate 100% and then tell them that you need your attorney. Now, cool part about that is you call that number. An attorney is provided for you being a member of USCCA.
And what does the USCCA stand for?
United States Concealed Carry Association.
Wow. Okay, so what you just said sounds like, they protect you, they have your back if something happens. So does the NRA not provide that same type of backing?
To my knowledge, absolutely not. Like I said, it provides magazines, it gives you discounts on certain gear. They have big conventions that people attend. Like I said, as far as my knowledge, it's a big club. And like I said, for people that's a part of it, I don't knock it. It's just not for me.
Okay. So how did you hear about the USCCA? Because I don't think I've ever heard of that before.
Honestly, Google. Shout out to Google. I was looking for insurance through Extra Protection because my job protects me, but I needed that insurance in case something was to happen at my house. So someone recommended it to me. I looked it up. I signed up. I'm a platinum member.
Okay. Now, are those fees, is it pretty affordable, or is it like going to put a dent in someone's pocket?
Your level of affordability really matters on yourself. I deem it as very affordable.
Okay.
I mean, like cheap for protection, because one thing that people don't understand, and I'm not sure if you want to dive into this right now, but if you had to, Lord forbid, use your firearm in your home, you are getting arrested.
Wow, I never knew that.
You will be placed in custody and they will sort it out. So you need that protection. Like, it's not like, Lord forbid, you had to use your firearm in your home and the police just say, all right, have a good night, we'll clean everything up. No, you will be placed in custody.
That's just the protocol.
That's the protocol.
Okay.
Scary as that may sound, it's protocol.
And so the USCCA that you have will, provide a lawyer and provide support during that time.
Absolutely.
Nice. That's cool. Now, you're familiar with the Philando Castile case, right?
I am.
Okay. So with all the talk about wanting to, tear down these stereotypes, this man was a licensed firearm holder, carrier. What's the correct term? Or he was licensed to carry a firearm.
Correct.
And he, informed the officer, and he still ended up dead. So how can, what can happen, or what would you suggest to people that say, I would own a gun, would own a firearm, but look what happened to him? Well, what do you say to that?
That's a very good question. Interestingly enough, in that case, or in that whole situation, one thing about gun ownership is different from state to state. Now, my perspective on guns, or just the way I view things, might be a little bit different if Maryland was a open carry state, which it is not. It's a concealed carry, meaning if I have the proper qualifications and licensure, I can have it on me. But some states, you could just be open all willy-nilly with it. So even though he was licensed to carry, for whatever reason, quote unquote, that officer felt threatened, yada, 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 yada. And I feel like it's very unfortunate. Like,
because,
no,
I was just going to say, it's like, you want to exercise the same right that you see so many others doing, in particular, or more specifically, white Americans can show up to certain places with big guns, AK-47s and things like that. And the National Guard is not called down on them. They're not arrested. They're not brutalized. They're not, having rubber bullets shot at them. But a Black person just walking around with a firearm with their license is more likely to get attacked. Do you think that'll ever change as far as how people view Black people with firearms?
Honestly, no.
Yeah.
I don't. Until certain laws change or police start to begin to be held accountable, it's not. I mean, it's super unfortunate, but it's just, all you can do is hope that it never happens to you. And it sucks that we have to say hope that it never happens to me, because it shouldn't be happening to you in the first place.
Right.
But, the way things are set up right now is going to forever be a political situation.
And do you feel like with more like people like you, and then you may be encouraging other people, you should, get licensed, carry, it's your right. Do you think the more it becomes normal, the better it'll be, maybe?
I do. Now, that I do agree with. I feel like if people get that education and tear down some of the stereotypes about it, it will be beneficial in the long run. I mean, at least it's like, like I said, I'd rather have it and not need it than to need it and not have it. I mean, it's simple as that. It's once you get educated on it, it makes people feel, and I've witnessed this on my own, like it makes people feel a lot more comfortable.
That sounds good. I mean, I'm thinking about it, but I feel like I'm just too clumsy and I need like 50 safety classes. Like,
they got tons of safety classes. They have a whole bunch of safety classes.
All right. Now, are you familiar with the National African American Gun Association?
I am.
Are you a member, Rob?
I am not.
Okay. Now, one of their goals is to basically what you've been saying is to normalize seeing Black men and Black women with firearms. So they have the same goal as you. So do you think you would consider joining them, or you have to figure out like the benefit?
No, I absolutely positively will become a member of the NAAGA.
NAGA, not to be confused with MAGA.
A good one.
You get on my nerves. So I was actually watching a short clip about the founder of the NAAGA, and he was basically saying that, you know, of course they want to normalize it, but then they were also looking into maybe backing like political candidates and things like that. Do you think that the gun talk always gets political?
Yes. But to the flip side of that, I feel like it can also be a good thing. Like there's so many negative stereotypes and stigmas about firearms and guns or whatever you want to call it, weapons, and it just needs to change. And it's typically, I feel like personally in our community, and it may be just based on experiences that we may have had, or, you know, hearing about this person getting shot, or depending on where you live, it's so much negativity that's drawn towards that people just turn their backs on it. It's like, no, not in my house. I would never. And it's like, well, just hear me out for a second before you say that. And then, yes, some people are going to love it. Some people are going to hate it. That's just life. But yeah. I feel like at least have all of the information before you make your decision.
That's true. That's true. Now, as far as your family, your wife, mom, sister, brother, you know, everyone, are they in support of you owning firearms?
That's a good question. Initially, my wife was not a fan.
Okay.
There were lots of reservations, but once I educated her on what I had learned, she then became more comfortable. It's not because we live in a bad area or anything like that. We live in a great area, but you never know. Now, as far as my family's concerned, I have a good amount of people in my family that are firearm owners, which I am forever grateful for. Because I have people to talk to about, you know, things like that. We have something else in common. But to know that my extended family has that level of protection makes me feel more comfortable.
Okay. It sounds like your wife may have some of the same concerns I would have just thinking about owning one, you know, just having it in the home. And I can totally get that. So sometimes you just don't know about something and we close it off. But then when we learn about it, it's like, okay, it's not that bad. So I think that's pretty awesome that you were able to explain the importance of it and you guys could come to the, you know, an understanding. Now, before we close out, what are some firearm recommendations for women, well, you know, and you know, scaredy cats.
Yep. Well, first I would recommend that you actually either pair up with someone who knows a thing or two about firearms, guns, whatever, or just read up on it. I mean, you got YouTube. YouTube can educate you, but it's nothing like that hands-on. I mean, if you want to talk about smaller calibers, most women, and I don't want to get in trouble with the ladies.
That's true, because there are some women who has an extensive collection of firearms.
Mm-hmm. I would have to agree. I've seen a couple of videos of women shooting a 50 caliber gun, which is a very, very, very powerful gun. But for beginners, the most common caliber of a pistol is a 9mm. It has been considered the most dangerous. It has been considered the fastest. It has been considered one that can protect you better than any other. That's just a matter of opinion. But I mean, if you're just getting started, I recommend like a 22 or a 380, something like that. You should be able to get comfortable with.
And you said earlier, as far as safety, just attend those courses and they'll teach you basically everything you need to know.
Absolutely. Another thing is, like, even with me, like when people talk to me about wanting to go to the gun range, I literally get excited because it gives me opportunity to, one, educate them on how to use it, and maybe something that they may be interested in getting or not be interested in getting. Some people might shoot my firearm and say, oh, this is way too powerful, or this is way too big. At least you got an opportunity to see for yourself, and now you can make that adjustment accordingly. But definitely go to the range. If you hate it, you hate it. If you love it, even better.
So I'm glad that you actually brought up gun ranges, because I was going to ask you about that. Are there any Black-owned gun ranges that you know about?
Yes, there's one in Charles County if you want to make the drive. It's called Wilson Brothers Armory. Now, this is an outdoor range, so if you don't like the outdoors, sorry to hear that. But yes, Black-owned, really, really, really good people.
Okay. And when you go to a gun range, what are the fees that are involved? And do you have to bring your own weapon?
You do not have to bring your own weapon. They do have rentals that you can rent. You need to bring your license. And that's pretty much it. And then you're going to sign a waiver, and they're going to ask you, have you ever shot a firearm before? You'll say yes or no. And then they will give you a rental. You got to get your headphones, your headset, your eyes. If you don't wear glasses, you got to get your targets. It can get pricey. Depends on where you go. But the most cost-efficient way for the frugal people, get your own firearm and then take that, get your own ammo, and then take that, get your own headset, take that, and then you're just paying for the fee. Hey, you mind if I shoot in this lane? Good to go. That's what I do. I love it. I go probably a minimum about 4 times a month.
4 times a month. Wow. And you said that you go as a sense of stress relief as well.
Oh my, yes. It's the best.
Better than exercise?
Probably not. But
all right. So I won't give up running when I get a gun. All right. Now, have you ever had to utilize your firearms, Rob?
I have not.
Awesome.
Had to utilize it. Thank you, Jesus. I don't want to use them. That's the thing. That's what I want people to get out of this. You should not want to use it, from police officers to civilians to home protection to security guards to armed truck drivers. No one should want to use it. If you want to use it, that may be part of a problem. You might not be the person for gun ownership.
Kind of like that young man, the 17-year-old Kyle, I forget his last name, who showed up at a protest with, was it an AK-47? Are you familiar with that story?
He had some type of assault rifle. I don't think it was an AK-47.
Okay.
I know it was some type of AR, which is, an assault rifle. But that's the thing. Like in most states, you can purchase a rifle or shotgun at 18 years old. Now, in Maryland, for sure, you have to be 21 to buy a handgun. But, some of these people in the world we live in today, not saying any names, races, creeds, anything like that, train their kin as early as 8 years old. Now, some people may frown their face and say, oh, that's not good, or that's not this and that. And I look at it from an opposing end and I say, well, depending on what they're teaching them and how they're teaching them, this could be extremely beneficial. And that's the where our minds need to go when it comes to gun ownership. Not, oh, he's going to shoot somebody. Oh, right. He's going to hurt somebody. He's going to hurt himself. He's going to play with it and it's going to misfire. No. All of that very well could happen. But when trained properly, stored properly, cleaned properly, like it's a lot that go into it. You just don't use your firearm, throw it in the back of your trunk and say, oh, one day I'm going to use it again when I go to the range. No, you have to properly clean it. You have to treat it like a car, like a well-oiled machine.
In regards to families and training up children, you're saying what's most important is the actual intention behind whatever you're teaching that child. If you're teaching them to be productive and responsible with these firearms, then sure, go ahead. However, if you're teaching them hate and they show up, to a protest, finger on the trigger, then that's a big difference.
You nailed it.
Yeah, and that's what needs to be, changed, because it's just horrible what's happening in our world. The fact that could happen, and that young man, able to be arrested and all of this stuff, versus a Black man without a gun being shot down multiple times. It's heartbreaking. And Hopefully we'll see a change one day.
One day a change is gonna come. Yeah, yeah.
Oh, okay. So does gun ownership come with a singing voice as well? All right. Now, I know that you're not a spokesperson for any particular firearm club, but those that, after listening today, are ready to bite the bullet. You see what I did there? Come on, Rob. Let me get a laugh. You get on my nerves. But I appreciate how this conversation is not, even though we're talking about firearms, it's not serious. And I like that you're relaxed and you're making this comfortable for people that may be uptight about the topic. So I can really appreciate that. But for those that are ready to, dig a little deeper, bite that bullet, cha-ching, you should have did the drum roll.
You really gonna keep wearing that joke out?
What are some resources or websites that you can offer to, familiarize themselves with if they want to start exercising that right to bear arms?
As cliche as this may sound, I'm going to recommend a famous website that everyone has heard of called YouTube. I would go to YouTube, type in Firearms for Beginners or 5 things you should know, 10 things you should know, 10 things that are a lie. And it really educates you. Like, I know people will be like, they might be lying or whatever, but there's a lot of good material on there. Secondly, as far as training, I have to recommend the place where I went. It's called IOTA Firearms and Security Training Academy. It's in Marriottsville, Maryland. Black owned. They are very knowledgeable, seasoned gun owners. I mean, they know everything. They're reasonably priced, and you can get your fingerprints done there. So it's like a one-stop shop.
Okay.
You will not be disappointed.
Is that where you purchase your firearms?
No, ma'am. They do not sell firearms, but they will train you and get you ready to buy.
Okay.
That's what you need.
That's what I need to go. It's so far, though, but I feel like it'll be worth the drive, Yeah,
or some places where you live. I'm going to come out there.
On my way home, I tend to see a big billboard for a gun range. Mm-hmm. And I've never, ever wanted to stop by, but now it's looking more attractive to me.
I'm going to go. Let me know.
All right, Rob. Well, thank you so much for coming on to have a conversation with me, a random nobody.
Yeah.
Oh, my gosh. You are a mess. See, guys, I told you he was silly. Anyway, I hope that you found today's episode beneficial. I know that Rob talked about a lot, and you may need to play it back so you remember everything. And I know that as I begin the process of becoming a licensed firearm owner, this information definitely helped me out. If you guys have any questions about licensure or types of firearms or anything like that, and you want to ask Rob, you can actually just send me an email at randomnobodypodcast@gmail.com and I'll shoot them right over to him. Oh, you see what I did there? I shoot them. That wasn't even planned. That was just natural. Anyway, I appreciate you for listening to my podcast once again and ask that you continue to help me spread the word. If people don't know that I'm here, they're not going to listen. So I ask that you just share the podcast everywhere that you go. Share it on Instagram, Facebook, supermarket, water cooler, wherever you are, and people seem like they're bored or seem like they need something to do, mention the podcast. My friend has a podcast. You should check it out. Simple as that, and it's free. It costs nothing. Anyway, guys, I am finished here. Until next week, Wednesday, walk good. Translation, be safe.
Started from the bottom, look where we end up, on top like Pac. All eyes on us, blessings. No more worries, no more stressing. With every loss there comes a lesson. Lord, all I'm asking is protection. I wake up and count my blessings.